Long before Jack the Ripper terrified London, another butcher was roaming the French countryside. He smiled like a saint, but killed like a demon. They called him the French Ripper. His name was Joseph Vacher. France, 1890s, a nation rebuilding after war and chaos. The villages are quiet, the fields endless, and strangers drift from town to town looking for work. One of them is a pale, polite man with a black hat and a twisted smile. His name is Joseph Vacher, a drifter, an ex-soldier, and a killer. Between 1894 and 1897, he would leave a trail of mutilated bodies across rural France, men, women, even children. The newspapers called him Le Tueur de Bergers, the shepherd's killer. Stay with me, because the things this man did will make Jack the Ripper look almost merciful. Our story begins in June 1893 in Lyon. Vacher was a soldier, deeply disturbed, rejected by a young woman named Louise Barrett. He proposed to her, she laughed. Furious, he pulled a revolver, shot her in the face, and then turned the gun on himself. She died instantly. He lived. Doctors said the bullet lodged in his skull and damaged his brain. He was never the same again. That one moment turned him from a heartbroken man into something inhuman. After his release from an asylum in 1894, Vacher began wandering the countryside, pretending to be a humble beggar or laborer. But every few weeks, a new body would be found, throat slit, clothes torn, body mutilated beyond recognition. He traveled mostly on foot, carrying only a walking stick, a knife, and a small satchel. To locals, he looked like a harmless vagrant. To history, he became one of Europe's first serial killers. What's more terrifying, the killer you can see, or the one who smiles and passes you on the road? Most of his victims were shepherds, lonely souls guarding their flocks in remote meadows. He'd approach kindly, asking for bread or milk, and moments later, strike with animal ferocity. One victim, a 13-year-old boy, was found decapitated. Another, a farm girl, was so badly mutilated police fainted at the scene. His brutality was unmatched. He mutilated bodies as if to erase humanity itself. But what he left behind would finally expose the pattern of a killer France wasn't ready to face. By 1896, entire regions were paralyzed with fear. Farmers refused to let their children tend sheep alone. Villages hired night patrols. Newspapers warned of the wild beast of the South. But police across different provinces never connected the murders. Each thought it was an isolated crime. Imagine a killer crossing your country on foot, and no one even knows it's the same man. He dressed like a pilgrim, prayed in churches, and often quoted the Bible to strangers. He claimed to be on a mission from God, chosen to purify France. But behind the pious smile was madness. He was obsessed with purity, violence, and power over the helpless. Was he insane or perfectly aware of every act he committed? Doctors later discovered Vacher suffered from severe brain trauma and sexual sadism. He took pleasure in killing, often reliving the scenes in his mind afterward. He once told police, "When I kill, I feel God's warmth upon me." The line between insanity and evil blurred, and France struggled to define which he was. Comment below, do you think someone like this deserves treatment or execution? Across 10 provinces, similar crimes appeared: mutilation, rural isolation, a killer who vanished into the forests. Witnesses spoke of a man with scars on his face, limping slightly, polite but unsettling. By 1897, one sharp-eyed magistrate began connecting the dots. Joseph Vacher's wandering routes matched every murder. After years of slaughter, the hunter finally had a scent. In August 1897, in the village of Kurziu, Vacher attacked another young shepherd boy, but this time, the victim fought back. Villagers heard screams, chased the attacker, and caught him red-handed. When police searched his bag, they found bloody clothes, knives, and keepsakes from earlier victims. Finally caught, but was he mad enough to escape the guillotine? In custody, Vacher was strangely calm. He confessed to 11 murders, describing them in chilling detail, but insisted God told him to do it. He compared himself to Joan of Arc, claiming he heard divine voices. He said he killed because the world was impure. He saw himself as a prophet, not a predator. His trial in Bourg in 1898 became a spectacle. Crowds filled the courtroom, women fainted, journalists swarmed the streets. The question was simple. Was Joseph Vacher insane or purely evil? Doctors examined him for months. Some declared him criminally insane. Others said he was faking madness to avoid the guillotine. If you were the judge, would you spare him or let the blade fall? One man, Dr. Alexander Lacassagne, changed everything. He studied Vacher's mind and body, documenting scars, delusions, and compulsions. His research helped shape modern criminology. But even Lacassagne concluded, he is not mad, he is monstrous. Science had spoken and death was coming. On December 31st, 1898, the crowds gathered outside the Bourg-en-Bresse prison. As dawn broke, Joseph Vacher was led to the guillotine, calm, smiling, holding a crucifix. His final words, "I ask forgiveness from God, not from men." Moments later, the blade fell. The French Ripper was dead. But the story doesn't end here, because what they found afterward would haunt history. Dr. Lacassagne preserved Vacher's brain for study. It became a milestone in forensic psychology. His crimes forced France to reform its mental health laws and methods of criminal profiling. Some say Vacher's story inspired later killers and even influenced early 20th century horror fiction. A monster's death became the birth of modern forensic science. Joseph Vacher murdered at least 11 people, perhaps many more. His victims were forgotten shepherds, farm hands, wanderers, the voiceless souls of rural France. But his legacy reshaped how we understand killers, not as demons from myth, but as broken minds hidden among us. He was called the French Ripper, a man who turned loneliness into bloodshed, and whose story still whispers through the hills of France. Do you believe Joseph Vacher was insane or pure evil? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, because next time we uncover another forgotten killer whose darkness changed history.